Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very large storm system that is going to be developing and making its way across the southern Canadian areas and into the northern United States. With it, it will bring a stalled out cold front that will bring showers, storms to the central part of the United States before finally moving on to the eastern United States. And this will drag on for several days. With this comes the threat for hail, severe storms, tornadoes even. So let's start by jumping right into it. So we're going to start off by looking at the Storm Prediction Center's Day 2 convective outlook for severe weather. Notice we have an area of slight and enhanced risk severe weather, which is a 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale risk, and that includes a good part of North Dakota, that includes Bismarck, and into Montana, South Dakota, Minnesota, and all of North Dakota for the slight risk. And you can see the marginal extends even further out. That's basically anywhere there could be a severe storm, and that includes cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, Milwaukee, St. Paul, Madison. The biggest threat for tomorrow would be not the tornadoes, though you could see they have a 5% chance of occurring within the 25 miles of any radius. The wind is going to be the highest, and the hail is also going to be pretty high, but it's going to be for a smaller area. Do note that some of this could extend into portions of Wisconsin and Illinois as well, so that is something to note. Here we have the Storm Prediction Center's Day 3 severe thunderstorm outlook. So this is for Friday, so this is still a little further out. Notice that the severe weather shifts a little bit further towards the east. We have that enhanced risk right over Fargo, North Dakota, bordering North Dakota and Minnesota, and a little bits of South Dakota there. And then that slight risk includes a lot larger cities and a lot larger of an area, and then that marginal, which is that darker green, includes even more cities. So a city like Fargo, Grand Forks, West Fargo is under that enhanced area. That would mean potentially the chance for hail, wind, and even tornadoes. On this day, I do believe the tornado threat will be a little higher than on the threat for tomorrow. But we don't have the categorical or the ones that are subdivided into different risks, as this is still a little further out. However, if you live in this area, either for tomorrow or today, you guys have to keep an eye to the sky, keep your phones next to you, and be wary, as these thunderstorms can be pretty strong and powerful. Now I'd like to take a look at the weather models and move away from the Storm Prediction Center to take a look at the actual storm system setup. So notice that right now what we have is a high pressure across the northeastern United States and southeastern Canadian areas that is allowing this moisture across the southeast to continue to fester and spin without moving further up north as easily, which is contributing to the heavy rain across many of those areas, flooding, and other concerns with the heavy rain. Notice we have a low pressure right now, very weak, but it is trying to develop across Wyoming into Colorado. This is delivering, combined with that high pressure that is not allowing this rain moving off towards the east, is creating this alley of winds, and with that an alley of moisture sending up to the north, and that is allowing for some storms and showers to pop up pretty far north. But the main area of interest is going to be right here, and as I move this forward into time, you will see that we have areas of showers and storms beginning to develop out ahead of this low pressure, but that is not our main focus of interest, though it may seem at this point it is. Notice as I put this into the future, we see the low pressure beginning to develop across Alberta and into Saskatchewan, and this system basically helps this system get more moisture from the south. Otherwise, this one probably would be a little bit more moisture starved. That is why the Storm Prediction Center has already released those outlooks, as even before this system is fully well developed and formed, there are already going to be showers out ahead of it and storms that are going to be severe. As this thing spins away into Friday and Saturday, notice that it begins to wrap up more noticeably. As you can see as I move these slides through, we get a spinning feature into this cyclone that causes this low pressure to kind of go further to the south, and what that does is it allows an even stronger alley of very strong southerly winds across much of the central and southern United States, pushing towards the north. Along with that, we see a lot of moisture, and of course we see a potential fire danger with that, as there's going to be very strong winds here across areas that aren't really going to be seeing rain at the same time. So at this point, Saturday, we have a very well-developed system across southern Canada. This continues shooting off bands of showers and storms across Minnesota, South Dakota, and into now beginning to develop across the central United States. So while this system is spinning away and producing severe weather across Canada and Minnesota, we are beginning to develop a cold front that is slowly going to be sagging down into the central and southern United States. And by Sunday and into Monday, it becomes more distinguishable. Notice that system, that parent low pressure, is very far towards the north, and it is not as directly contributing now to the storms and showers as much as that cold front remaining from that system. This high pressure also is very noteworthy that it's establishing itself across the eastern United States, as any high pressure spins clockwise and any low pressure spins counterclockwise. So basically what this does is it creates, again, a more funnel for more moisture, but also it prevents this cold front from really just zooming on out of here, and that high pressure blocks its way. So what we end up seeing is a cold front that's stagnant across Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, the Midwest, into Kansas, Oklahoma. Anywhere you see that green, there's a chance for showers and storms to pop up. And you can see it continues into Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, before slowly drifting off towards the east as another system moves in late next week, another strong low pressure system across Canada, which brings even more showers. So by the time this is all said and done, you can see that the precipitation amounts across the central United States will be quite high. And obviously the models like the GFS for these thunderstorm events, they don't do the greatest job of showing where the exact heaviest amounts will be because of the nature of thunderstorms, but it does do a good job of showing us where it thinks the thunderstorms will be, because that is usually where the heaviest rain falls. So again, you can see it's targeting much of the central United States here. It's differing a bit between each model run. The newest one coming out, it doesn't have enough hours for me to really show you anything. But the 6 o'clock one in the morning, you can see it shifts around a little bit, but generally the same area is targeted. Now I'd like to take a look at the European model. So I just showed you the GFS model. It's important to look at several models, as one model doesn't always do justice to what will actually be happening. So if you take a look at the European, what it shows is a nice view into more of southern and central Canada, which is why I also like to prefer pivotal weather in terms of the geographic outlay compared to tropical tidbits. But do note that what it shows is a series of low pressures. Again, the one area of interest is right here with this trough and this jet stream developing. We see showers out ahead of it from this secondary low pressure, as the GFS showed. So again, the models are in agreement, which is typically what we look for. And do note that with the European here on this pivotal weather, you could really see how this system wraps up, produces a lot of severe weather into that, again, Wednesday, so today, Thursday especially, and into Friday with that cold front. And then we see that slow and steady building of that cold front across the central and southern United States, directly attached to this low pressure. And if I were to draw this out, you could see, so obviously there's a low pressure, there's that classic comma shape low, a band of precipitation around it, and then there's that cold front that is extending all the way down into essentially the Rockies. And with the help of this high pressure that you'll see popping up right there across the central and southern, well, not central, more like the eastern and southern United States, this low pressure doesn't go eastward, but instead starts going further and further towards the north. So this cold front basically just sticks around, and the momentum from it stalls, and it is just shoved around back and forth between this high pressure and this wraparound moisture. So you can see the storms continue to spark off across Illinois, Michigan. None of these should be that severe. The most severe, I would say, is probably in Sunday and into Monday, the threats for the central United States. But regardless, with any thunderstorm threat, lightning, wind, hail, and torrential rains. So that is definitely going to be a concern to watch for. As we go into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, things seem to quiet out. We do see that precipitation activity shift generally towards the south and east. However, by then it is a lot less organized, and there shouldn't be as high of a risk for that severe weather. But as I mentioned, and what the GFS showed, we have another system that moves in next Thursday, next Friday, that races across Canada. This one will be quick moving and won't be as strong and powerful, but it too produces a cold front that seems to stall out across the central United States. So that is definitely going to be something to watch. In terms of precipitation amounts, the European does suggest very similar totals to the GFS and similar areas. So if I were to play this out, you could see it targets, again, where that low pressure develops across Canada. We see a lot of precipitation and a lot of rain. that is obvious, that extends into North Dakota and Minnesota and little bits of South Dakota, but also it is very clear where that cold front stalls out. There could be quite a bit of precipitation as well, and the European and GFS are in quite good agreement regarding that. As I put this into future for those that are interested, you can see that it basically continues adding on moisture in the very similar hit areas, as these low pressures will track very similarly to one another. So the southeast getting hit, but then there's that weird band of dryness from anywhere Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas into the Ohio Valley and up into the mid-Atlantic. But then as you go further north, once again you get in on more precipitation. One more thing I'd like to take a look at is what I kind of briefly showed at the beginning of today's video, is the HER model. So this is a model that is very high res, and it basically allows us to track individual thunderstorms and individual complexes to the degree that the European and GFS wouldn't allow us to. So notice that right now, I don't think you can see the hours on this, but this is Wednesday evening. So today, you can see the activity is pretty muted a little bit across the northwest here with that system that we're tracking, but it hasn't really developed yet. So into tomorrow, early morning hours, we see potentially a little bit of development across northern Missouri for thunderstorms. Otherwise, not much else. We have some, again, lingering precipitation across the southeast there, but by tomorrow around 2-3 early afternoon, we see a series of storms beginning to bubble up and blow up across extreme North Dakota and into southern Canada, and also thunderstorms across Montana. Those won't be as high of a risk for severe weather, but they nonetheless will be thunderstorms, so that is definitely something to watch. Do note that the storms continue firing off across much of North Dakota into tomorrow and into the overnight hours into Friday, and that is where we start seeing potentially some threat of flooding as well. You can see these storms seem to be building on top of one another, and this model takes us into Friday afternoon, so it doesn't go farther than this. There is also a potential for showers and storms to develop across Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and southeastern southern Canada there, across the Great Lakes. This will also deliver some rain and precipitations across those areas. This isn't an exact forecast. This will definitely change, but it gives you a rough idea of what's to come. And on Friday, you can see this thing becomes more of a defined low pressure, and that's why I believe we have a higher thunderstorm risk with that. Tomorrow, more of wind and hail. Regardless, if you were to take a look at the total accumulated precipitation from the HER model, there are definitely some concerns for heavy rain here. You can see some of these totals getting into the 3 to 4 inch range, and potentially even higher, especially if they do end up tracking or trailing on one on top of the other. So that is definitely a concern. That is basically it, though. I wanted to just give you an information on this system. Mainly the northern United States in the next few days, then that cold front across the central United States. And as we get further away from that system into next week, the impacts linger and begin to dwindle across the East Coast. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.